Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
You guys know what this represents?
Well,
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
what's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm, Mr.
We have the
President?
world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
What if everything you knew about the world was wrong? Because the good guys were really the bad guys, and the bad guys were way worse than you ever imagined. By the end of this series, you will know that President Trump is involved in working with military patriots to bypass the media in a covert battle with the deep state. Ladies and gentlemen, the storm is upon us. Enjoy the show.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole.
Welcome back for another Truth Bomb. In this episode, we are going to first look at the mainstream media's reaction to Q, and then we will look at the culture of 4chan. If you watch the rest of the episodes in this series, you will understand why millions of people all around the world are following Q. Like many others, I have followed Q from the very start, and I can tell you that Q is indeed a white hat military intelligence operation, making the greatest drop of insider information to the public ever released, in order to prepare people for the storm.
Mr. President, what did you mean by calm before the storm yesterday? What did you mean by that?
Thank you very much. You'll find out.
We'll find out.
Thank you. We'll see.
I got you.
Thank you, everybody.
Q has explained that this is an 8-year plan to counter the deep state sinister 16-year plan of Obama and Hillary Clinton. If you watch this full episode, you will understand why millions of people all around the world are following Q. The good guy plan referred to by Q has most likely been in play for longer than we know, but the Q operation on the Chans began the end of October 2017, which means we are now in the final year of this Q plan and are about to witness huge historic events. Oh, by the way, there is no QAnon. There is Q and the Anons. QAnon is a mainstream media created term used to describe and discredit the movement. And with that, let us begin.
This next segment is brought to you by the letter Q, specifically QAnon.
QAnon.
QAnon. QAnon.
QAnon.
QAnon.
QAnon.
QAnon. QAnon. QAnon. QAnon.
QAnon.
QAnon.
What is QAnon?
People who believe in the QAnon conspiracy theory.
Are so broad and often
also
bizarre.
shockingly widespread.
It's like an alternative reality game.
How would you go about explaining it?
QAnon is the Harry Potter of conspiracy theories.
And the QAnon conspiracy movement.
Q, the QAnon movement.
It was started in 2017 by an anonymous poster claiming to have classified information about a secret plot by the so-called deep state against President Trump and his supporters.
Digital soldiers.
Pro-Trump conspiracy cult.
Extreme right-wing conspiracy theory.
In the history of 60 Minutes, I'm not sure we've ever reported a story that for the most part is pure fantasy. But that's how to best sum up QAnon, an ever-shifting mega conspiracy theory that's bizarre and nonsensical. As wacky as it is, though, millions of people appear to be caught up in the internet-based cult.
These fringe theories ricocheting off the shadowy corners of the internet are now starting to see the light of day.
And that means there are dangerous, real-world consequences that demand the rest of us stop scratching our heads in disbelief and start to take serious notice of QAnon.
A bizarre conspiracy theory has taken root firmly on the fringes of the American right.
Where we go one,
we go wrong.
Where we go one,
we go wrong.
These people are taking an oath to QAnon, a mishmash of conspiracy theories which holds Donald Trump as the savior of the world.
The main driver of info insanity is something called QAnon, which is where stories like these originate or are amplified.
They are activating like-minded people who otherwise may be sitting on the sidelines.
It's spreading and is growing, Mika, because if you've never heard of QAnon, you're actually not alone. Because at one level, it's a wide-ranging, radical conspiracy theory about an evil group of deep state operators and child predators, all secretly at war with President Trump.
QAnon conspiracy theories are spreading overseas.
I mean, who believes that there's an actual Q inside the government?
There's really no reliable poll about the size of the QAnon community. There's some analysis which shows that there is a presence of QAnon in 71 countries.
Is Q Trump himself?
Trump retweeted QAnon dozens of times. So, prominent QAnon accounts.
The letter Q
Q may be one of the least used letters in the English language. But for followers of QAnon or Q anonymous theory, it's a doorway into something called the deep state, a baseless idea that claims a secret, powerful network is working to promote its own hidden evil agenda, and that Donald Trump is doing all he can to stop them. The movement now leaping from echo chambers of social media to headlines in the news.
It's called QAnon, a fringe conspiracy theory.
Retweet of an article by a QAnon conspiracy theorist.
QAnon's grown so fast.
Newsnight has seen data that shows a huge spike in interest in this conspiracy theory during the pandemic. But what is QAnon? Followers believe that a cabal of pedophiles runs the United States. They control the media, Hollywood, and politicians, and the only person that can stop them is Donald Trump.
Followers believe that Q is an actual figure or figures within the U.S. government holding Q-level security clearance. Q is a real clearance level within the Energy Department, but from there, the story leaps into dark and outlandish places. For example, they say that Q communicates with them by posting cryptic ciphers online because he has access to all the deepest, darkest secrets in the U.S. and wants to expose them. This includes wild, fake theories of prominent politicians running a child sex trafficking ring, or that JFK Jr. was assassinated by Hillary Clinton. These far-out claims run the gamut.
Q is an unknown person who claims to be an intelligence insider, but obviously isn't. And Anons are the people who follow him and decode his vague posts. The main gist of QAnon is that elite, satanic pedophiles are everywhere, and they're coming to get your kids. More specifically, pedophiles are everywhere among liberals, celebrities, and the media. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is busy plotting to round them all up.
If you want to free yourself, it's easy. Follow Q.
If QAnon was a movie script, it would be too far-fetched.
The world is currently witnessing the largest mass treason event in the living history.
The world ruled by a cabal of Satan-worshipping elites who prey on children and harvest their blood. With Donald Trump, our only saviour, ready to defeat the forces of darkness.
Risk their lives to achieve this victory against the greatest force of evil the world has ever known.
And that's just the start. QAnon's debunked theories have gained so much traction that social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter have been forced to take action, removing thousands of QAnon-related accounts off their platforms.
The followers think of themselves as geniuses, as sort of playing this 5D high-level chess that Donald Trump also plays.
On forums in the darkest recesses of the internet, vague and cryptic messages began to be posted, supposedly by a mysterious figure known as Q. Crumbs of information that were shared and deciphered by an online army eager to interpret their meaning.
Although Trump hasn't given any indication that he is aware of QAnon or believes it, he is the person who, I guess, inadvertently started it. He made a cryptic statement to reporters in early October where he talked about the coming storm, a statement that he then refused to explain. The phrase "the storm" has come to be super important to people who believe or circulate these posts, where the storm refers to this kind of coming mass justice against all of Trump's enemies. After this statement a few weeks later, there started to be these kind of anonymous posts on a site called 4chan. They started spreading to other platforms like YouTube and like Reddit, where people who maybe aren't as familiar with how 4chan works or how to read it could start to access and see these posts and get excited about them.
A QAnon came along and built a, kind of a Pizzagate on steroids.
In a memo, the FBI described the group as a potential domestic terror threat.
So is the idea that the rest of us are ignorant if we don't understand it?
Yes, the rest of us are asleep, but the Q people want to wake us up. They don't want to hurt us, they want to teach us. They want us to join them.
Which basically means sit tight until the day President Donald Trump,
I am the chosen one,
saves America with mass arrests, military tribunals, and executions of his Satan-worshipping, child-trafficking, deep state government enemies, who mostly happen to be Democrats and Hollywood A-listers.
He posted something about the storm, and the storm in QAnon lore
is the idea that one day Donald Trump, led by a secret military, is going to go and execute all these people viewed as the deep state for all of their crimes against children, which they believe are happening.
Some of the figures that the QAnon narrative features are like Hillary Clinton, she comes up a lot, Barack Obama, George Soros, Bill Gates, Tom Hanks, Oprah Winfrey, Chrissy Teigen, Pope Francis. So sort of powerful and prominent figures.
Donald Trump would declare martial law. There would be military tribunals and mass executions of his enemies.
The term is the storm, and people on QAnon, as you pointed out in your reporting, are waiting effectively for a command from Donald Trump. They want him to say something pretty specific on that, on Truth Social or wherever they're watching his moves.
My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us. This is just deep Q lore. And to them, that means he's going to somehow activate the National Guard to go and arrest all, the deep state and things like that.
Our story begins in the dark recesses of the infamous online image board 4chan. It is a story of unrestrained fervor to fulfill an ancient Egyptian prophecy involving Trump, a cartoon frog, and an online counterculture. 4chan is an anonymous image board website where users can post content in threads on various boards. According to the Q posts, White Hat military insiders have been communicating directly with users on 4chan. But why 4chan? The forums 4chan, 8chan and 8kun are the few remaining platforms where anonymous free speech prevails. To understand why the military have rolled out Q as an operation to bypass the corrupted bought and paid for mainstream media, one needs to understand the culture of the internet forums where Q first appeared. The essence of Chan culture is a high IQ game of one-upsmanship, a kind of constant cyber sniping to fool others via trolling and LARPing, and avoid being fooled. To get a taste of what it's all about, let's have a closer look at the culture of 4chan's Paul, and some examples of weaponized autism that are guaranteed to blow your mind. Pepe the Frog became the unofficial mascot or hyper-sigil for 4chan's political discussion board, a highly despised corner of the internet fittingly entitled Politically Incorrect. Paul is one of 4chan's most popular sub-forums, and is one of the main forces that set the tone for online fringe political discussion, due to people being able to remain anonymous. Paul, above all else, is a place where our society's status quo is mercilessly challenged. It's a melting pot for well-meaning free thinkers and misguided madmen alike. It is a place of chaos. Pepe the Frog and Paul first collided with the outside world in June of 2015, when Trump announced his candidacy for President of the United States.
So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can prove me wrong, but I don't think that you're a friend to woman.
I knew I shouldn't have picked her. I knew I shouldn't have picked her.
I want to get paid the same as a man, and I think you understand that. So if you become president, will a woman make the same as a man, and do I get to choose what I do with my body?
You're going to make the same if you do as good a job.
Set your system's volume control for slightly above the normal listening level.
Trump, with his aversion to political correctness and penchant for flair and showmanship, was Paul's immediate candidate of choice. And so, Pepe the Frog was edited to wear a Make America Great Again hat, and began appearing in hundreds of Trump-supporting forum posts. At that very time, an event of religious significance to Paul contributors was approaching. Each post published on 4chan bears an identifying number, assigned consecutively by order of publication. Because of the huge number of posts published every day, this number is practically random. 4chan has an old tradition of users trying to have their posts obtain certain special numbers known as gets. The most precious gets are round numbers such as 1 million, or those that repeat all their digits.
Impressive. Very nice.
Out of this practice, a strange phenomenon began to take place on Paul. Discussion threads associated with Trump displayed noticeably frequent gets. By October of 2015, Paul was approaching its 7777777th post, seen to be of particular importance because the number 7 is often associated with good luck and fortune. The post that would get that number was sure to gain legendary status within the community. As it happened, the 7777777th get was for the message, Trump will win. This sent Paul and the broader 4chan community into paroxysms of amazement and glee. Soon it became all the rage on Paul to hail Trump as nothing less than God's chosen candidate. To fulfill this prophecy, the subforum started an online campaign in support of Trump. Users on Paul believed that the best way they could help Trump's chances of victory was by creating and spreading pro-Trump internet memes outside of 4chan. They called it the meme war.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
If they could expose regular social media users, the normies, to as many pro-Trump memes as possible, Trump would forever dominate the online news cycle, giving him a better chance of winning the primaries and maybe even the presidency.
Hello, freak bitches. Well, it's also one of the big problems with this hard stance of the left, of the hard left, like this Pepe the Frog thing. Like that anybody, I mean, one of the things that I tweeted was some guy that called me, you just admitted you're a Nazi because I posted a meme that someone had created of me as Pepe the Frog. And apparently there's Pepe the Frog of everybody. And so this guy was like, well, you just admitted you're a Nazi. And I'm like, see, this is a part of the problem. And this creates a massive blowback. People are getting angry because that frog, for the most part, is used humorously. And
yeah, actually, you used the phrase defensive humor when we were talking. And it really is. And I think, I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Joe, but
no, please do.
There's something about the idea that the effectiveness of this meme is that it tangles people with no sense of humor in knots. And
and that's a huge part of why those things are generated.
That's why they like it.
That's exactly right.
They love it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fearing that I'm saying something about this frog and that there's going to be something that's going to emerge that I should know about, that somehow I'm admitting something. But all I'm saying is what I see is a lot of people using it to taunt people who can't figure out.
Yes, I think that's the vast majority of it. I do believe that. And I think the same thing about the Kekistani types is that that's almost all humor.
Yeah, and there's a massive problem with pushing back against that and calling those people Nazis and racists, and especially when they're just using humor, and especially when it's very clear if you look at all the memes online, and I went thoroughly through Google to find them. There are some abhorrent ones. There are some horrible ones. There are some ones that are with Nazi uniforms. There's some anti-Jew ones. There's some horrific ones. Most of them are not that. Most of them. The vast majority of them are humorous. You know, first they came for Pepe, and I didn't say anything.
Yeah, well, if the frog is racist, you start wondering what isn't racist.
Exactly.
Because it's a bloody
racist.
cartoon frog.
It is said that the spiritual energies of Anons, channeled through the internet via their weaponized autism, can cause events to manifest. It is quite simply meme magic. So what is Kek and where did it come from? The name, usage, and ultimately the ideas around it originated in gaming culture, particularly on chat boards devoted to the World of Warcraft online computer games. In those games, participants can chat only with members of their own faction in the war, either alliance or horde fighters, while opposing players' chats are rendered in a cryptic form based on Korean. Thus, the common chat phrase "lol," laugh out loud, was read by opposing players as Kek. The phrase caught on as a variation of lol in game chat rooms, as well as in open forums dedicated to gaming, animation, and popular culture, such as 4chan and Reddit, where the Pepe the Frog meme also has its origins. One day, a poll contributor discovered that Kek is also the name of an ancient Egyptian frog god that was known as the bringer in of light. The similarities between Kek and Pepe were striking. The pot really started to boil when this bizarre misprint statuette was dug up from a mysterious vendor called Ancient Treasures on Amazon. For years, the product had been coincidentally mislabeled a Kek statue. In the hieroglyphics on the front of the statue, Kek is portrayed as a man seemingly sitting at a computer screen. This new digital faith was summed up neatly in this image passed around on all the major image boards of the day. In the fertile imaginations at play on 4chan's image boards, this coincidence took on a life of its own, leading to wide-ranging speculation that Pepe was actually the living embodiment of Kek. It was from this melting pot that the cult of Kek emerged. Kek adherents created a whole cultural mythology around the idea, describing an ancient kingdom called Kekistan. The frog-headed Kek became the father, Pepe the Holy Spirit, and Trump the son, sent to Earth to fulfill a divine destiny. Besides its entertainment value, their religion is mainly useful to Anons as a trolling device for making fun of liberals and political correctness. Most of all, Kek has become a kind of a tribal marker of Anons, its meaning obscure and unavailable to ordinary people, the normies. Anons claim to believe that Kek is using 4chan's memes as a vessel to spread his message and usher in a new era of light via chaos magic. One of the core tenets of chaos magic practice is the creation of magic sigils, also known as glyphs, to codify and project one's will into the universe. Basically, you make an image that represents your will, and the universe will take care of the rest. When a lot of people pool their united willpower towards a single sigil, it's called a hyper sigil, and it's exponentially more potent. As mentioned, Pepe Kek is 4chan's hyper sigil. Millions of the Anons that browse 4chan have embedded the image of Pepe with their hatred for Hillary's corruption, and their hope for Trump's victory over her for their presidency. Whether they did this consciously or not, it's exactly what happened.
This is not republicanism as we have known it. These are racist ideas, race-baiting ideas, anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant, anti-women, all key tenets making up the emerging racist ideology known as the alt-right.
What was that? That was Hillary Clinton's speech a few weeks ago denouncing the self-proclaimed alt-right and their support of Donald Trump and Donald Trump's campaign cultivating that support. You remember the speech, you remember the whole discussion around that, but there was this one weird heckling moment in that speech. Here it is again.
All key tenets making up the emerging racist ideology known as the alt-right.
So it's not like an applause moment or like a booing moment or whatever. It's quiet. Everybody's listening to what she says. As soon as she says that phrase alt-right, some guy yells out from the crowd, "Pepe!" And to most people, that was a totally inexplicable thing at the moment. It must be totally random. To the white supremacist, anti-Semitic, neo-Nazi right in this country, that guy yelling that out in that moment, that was a moment of triumph. That was the most hilarious thing they had ever heard in their lives. So, right, it's weird. It's deliberately weird. It's meant to be an unmistakable symbol that won't blend in anywhere, but you always know what it means. This frog, they've taken over. Started as an anodyne thing. They've taken it over as a deliberate white supremacist symbol.
The Kekistanis busied themselves with their chaos magic, disseminating Pepe memes everywhere on the mainstream internet. Soon Paul's users were, quite ironically at first, attributing all strokes of luck for the Trump campaign, and likewise all strokes of misfortune for the Hillary campaign, to their benevolent frog-headed deity. But all of that came to a head on September the 11th, 2016, when three major mind-blowing events transpired within 48 hours of each other. Three events that would change the face of Kek worship forever. The first event was Hillary Clinton fainting in New York. The second event that happened hours later was that the Clinton campaign mistakenly declared Pepe a public enemy by putting out an explainer article trying to accuse Pepe and Trump of white supremacy. A grave misunderstanding of online counterculture. Until then, Pepe had been a harmless meme on the mainstream internet. Sudden demonization by the Clinton campaign endowed the cult with a remarkable legitimacy. As then the same day, Donald Trump Jr. famously tweeted a picture of Pepe as part of the deplorables.
I think, Boris, that Democrats, like Maria, would probably cite things like this to prove their point. Donald Trump Jr., for example, he put this image on his Instagram account. It's a meme of Pepe. And for those of you who don't know, Pepe is a white nationalist symbol.
The overwhelming sentiment of Paul, still reeling from the event, is captured 2 days later in this post entitled, "Stop, Please." I didn't believe in meme magic at first. I thought you were all joking. Then Trump won his first primary and I thought, that's a coincidence. Then he became the candidate and I thought things were getting weird. Now Hillary is getting sick and the media is talking about Pepe. It's clear as day your memes are fucking with the fabric of reality. Stop, please. I beg you. You're fucking with powers you don't understand. If you keep this up, you could meme us all out of existence. 2 weeks later, the Anti-Defamation League classified Pepe the Frog as a hate symbol. While all of this was occurring, the third event happened. One or a few anonymous 4chan contributors discovered an old track from the 1980s on YouTube. A track stamped all over with a very familiar face. That's right, folks. A B-side vinyl by performer Pepe sporting a frog with a magic wand. A frog. Shadalay has now become the national anthem of Kekistan. But soon the Kekistanis, a proud people, would be challenged by a celebrity enemy of Donald Trump. A challenge that was accepted.
It's sort of like that thing that they did with Shia LaBeouf when he had that website.
Oh, yeah, and 4chan got to the
He
bottom
will
of
not
it.
replace, or he will not divide us.
Yeah. And then they use like
4chan
flight
found-
patterns and
yes.
shit. Yeah.
It was the most brilliant thing that anyone's ever done.
To weaponize
on the internet.
autism. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Do it! Just do it!
In 2016 and 2017, the folks of 4chan systematically trolled with Shia LaBeouf and his He Will Not Divide Us art protest project. The project first started with LaBeouf setting up a webcam in New York. It was supposed to be a permanent live feed for the duration of Trump's presidency, one where people could look into the camera and chant the saying, "He will not divide us." This obviously did not end well. It got pretty heated. Several times the actor screamed in the face of Trump supporters.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
Pepe! Pepe! He will not divide us. Pepe!
He will not divide us.
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 Pepe! He will not divide us.
He will not divide us. He will not divide us. Who's that, little speaker? Whose speaker is that? Oh, shit. He will never divide us. He will not divide us. We must ensure the existence of the white people on He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. Oh, you said not divide us. He will 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 not divide us. Dude, your beard tastes like fucking cheese. He will not divide us. He will not divide us. He will not divide us.
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
This all culminated in LaBeouf being arrested and charged with assault and harassment. The non-stop bullshit surrounding his art project seemingly got to some people, and it was shut down by the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens, where it was located. Shia, ever the trooper, carried on with a new He Will Not Divide Us project. But instead of vanquishing the trolls, he started the most intense game of capture the flag ever. This was covered in a legendary video series by the Internet Historian YouTube channel.
After defeat on the battlefields of New York and New Mexico, Shia headed to a new hidden location. No more chanting or interaction. This latest exhibit would just be a flag waving arrogantly in front of a camera. There were no landmarks, no scenery, no clues at all to its whereabouts. It would be impossible to find, and nothing could stop the broadcast. Checkmate. And this would allow Shia to act smug for the next 4 to 8 years. That is, unless Pol's agents could find a way to track it down. Challenge accepted. It was to be the greatest game of capture the flag ever. Pol began organizing. They set about gathering all the information they could on the local environment, trying to match up cloud, wind patterns, and ambient noise. Because it was a live stream, they could match the time of sunset to quickly discern that the flag was somewhere in the Eastern time zone. That's 2/3 of the country ruled out in one move. Others began looking into intel about Shia's whereabouts, as it was highly likely that he was present for the raising of the flag itself. As time went on, distinct noises could be heard in the background, the croaking of frogs, suggesting water nearby. Then, the second big break. In the distance, just faintly, 2 jet streams. Pol quickly opened a live feed of all of the air traffic across the eastern seaboard, but identifying these 2 lines, amongst all of this, would be a challenge. Meanwhile, social media trackers found this post. At a small town diner in Tennessee, this waitress couldn't help but brag about her run-in with Shire. It was another big break. TMZ also reported that Shire had been seen fly fishing in the area. The search was closing in on Greenville, Tennessee. The hunt was moving much faster now. According to the aviation team, 2 more planes would soon be flying overhead. If they could be spotted on the live stream, Pol would have confirmation. Bingo. To further narrow down the search area, the aviation team started charting all of the flight paths of spotted planes. But they still needed more information, and as day turned to night, they got it. Pol's astronomy division used the constellations to narrow down the angle and rough position of the camera. With this, the flight paths, and some advanced trigonometry, the candidate area had been reduced way down. Further confirmation from weather satellites backed up the claim as an agent was dispatched to the scene. As he drew close, he started honking the horn, while viewers of the live stream gave feedback as it got louder. A few minutes later, target sighted. But he couldn't just head in during broad daylight and risk Shire's wrath. Instead, he had to wait for the cloak of night. In the meanwhile, Pol got to work devising an infiltration strategy. A few hours later, the flag came down, and a MAGA hat and shirt went up. It was a beautiful moment, and it all took place on the live stream. Pol's Central Intelligence Agency had clocked Windu Season 3 in 38 hours and 14 minutes, and poor Shire was divided for a 3rd time. Could he ever recover? Could this be the end?
In September of 2015, users of the internet site 4chan started a campaign against the Islamic State. At the start of spring 2016, the Syrian war was as intense as ever, and the Syrian regime, ISIS, rebel groups, but also the United States and Russian military, were all still actively involved in the complex conflict. In the vast desert, rebel positions were often hard to locate. Sometimes, however, you just have to let the internet do its magic. This is the story of how 4chan forum members came together to locate a rebel base in Syria and coordinated an airstrike with the Russian military. The story starts on May 30th, 2016, when a user shared a YouTube video of a rebel training camp in northern Hama in Syria. The user called upon SG to help find the exact location of the base in the video. SG refers to Syria General, a 4chan board discussing many topics about Syria. Quickly after the original post, many 4chan members joined the search and uncovered very detailed information about the site. The first thing that they pointed out were the power lines visible in the distance. One user provided a blueprint with detailed measurements which gave the members a good base to start searching with. They then estimated the size of the structures so that they could get a sense of distance. After scouting out other structures in the video, comparing structures and their respective distances in Google Earth and the video, they eventually found a location that had to be the rebel base. Another user who helped in the search shared their findings with a Twitter user named Ivan Sidorenko, who is a friend of Russia's Ministry of Defense, and who can call in airstrikes. To the surprise of the 4chan members, it did not take long for Ivan Sidorenko to share the information with the command of the Russian military in Syria. Just hours later, Russian forces conducted an airstrike on the exact positions shared by the 4chan members.
On the 30th of May 2016, Paul's SG helped Russia strike terrorists in Syria. We found new rebel training video on YouTube, and so we decided to locate it on Google Earth. Rebel training camp in northern Hama. Can we find it, SG? There is a power grid visible in the video pic related. There are 2 videos of the camp. Does anyone know what's the height of these power grids, or I could calculate the distance from the mast to the camp with that info. At the images I see says that is something around 100 to 150 foot, maybe 40 meters is a good guess. I found this place but still verifying. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Start north of Latamana. This looks like it. Dug up semicircle driving area, transmission tower. Seems similar. Again 1, 2, 3. This is starting to look promising. Yes, this might be it. Oh baby, this might be the break we have been looking for. Are we heroes now? Another take from the same angle. 5 beams. 5 lines. Pretty certain that's the spot. Someone send it to Ivan. Bingo, send this into Ivan, we're doing another airstrike. Ivan is a friend of Russia's Ministry of Defense who can call in airstrikes on terrorists. Ivan responded, hey, I think SG found the right place this time. What's the coordinates? Never mind, I got them. Let us know if that is the right spot, it sure looks like it. Done, thanks. He confirmed it's happening, guys. Holy fuck, we did it. Long live. Beyond comfy right now, just waiting for the news.
Target acquired.
Now let's wait for the fireworks. Gonna go tell mommy we killed some terrorists on the internet today. I fucking love Paul.
Russia says it struck 10 more ISIL targets in Syria after vowing to step up its aerial bombardment. A terrorist training camp and a suicide bout factory were among the sites hit, according to defense officials. Moscow says its aim is to weaken the so-called Islamic State militants.
As you likely know, in 2016, WikiLeaks published emails from Hillary Clinton's private email server, along with a huge series of email dumps from her campaign chairman John Podesta's account. Some of the correspondence was deemed classified, and thus she was in violation of the law. In July 2016, Trump famously suggested,
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
Julian Assange essentially confirmed that it was a 27-year-old DNC staffer named Seth Rich that leaked the DNC emails to WikiLeaks, which was blamed on Russian hackers. On the 10th of July 2016, Seth Rich was shot to death in what authorities described as a botched robbery attempt. Even though his phone, wallet or Rolex were not stolen, Seth was found lying on the ground a block from his apartment with 2 bullet holes in his back. It was most likely an assassination by MS-13 gang members.
There's something clearly happening here. The Destroy Trump media, the Democrats, they have been pushing that Russian tin-foil hat conspiracy theory with zero evidence. For example, earlier today on Capitol Hill, former CIA Director John Brennan was asked about Russia collusion. Take a look.
I encountered and am aware of information and intelligence that revealed contacts and interactions between Russian officials and U.S. persons involved in the Trump campaign that I was concerned about because of known Russian efforts to suborn such individuals, and it raised questions in my mind, again, whether or not the Russians were able to gain the cooperation of those individuals. I don't know whether or not such collusion, that's your term, such collusion existed. I don't know. But I know that there was a sufficient basis of information and intelligence that required further investigation by the Bureau to determine whether or not U.S. persons were actively conspiring, colluding with Russian officials.
And you remember back in March, during an interview on Meet the Press, the former Obama Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, he also said no evidence of Russia collusion. Watch this.
We did not include any evidence in our report, and I say our, that's NSA, FBI, and CIA with my office, the Director of National Intelligence, that had anything that had any reflection of collusion between members of the Trump campaign and the Russians. There was no evidence of that included in our report.
I understand that, but does it exist?
Not to my knowledge.
Now, in addition to Democrats admitting that they've seen no evidence whatsoever, back in January, while testifying under oath, James Clapper also said no evidence that Russia affected the actual vote tallies. His words, not mine.
First, we cannot say they did not change any vote tallies or anything of that sort.
Former D.C. homicide detective Rod Wheeler, who was hired by a third party to investigate the murder on behalf of the family, says Mr. Rich was communicating with WikiLeaks before he was killed. Julian Assange, I asked him repeatedly on radio and television if Russia was involved. Absolutely not. Now, believe him or not, he's a guy that WikiLeaks has an 11-year history of never being proven wrong. And all these leaks, by the way, ended up being, a lot of them ended up being published in places like the New York Times. So I guess my question is, when you look at the timeline of this, and 12 days after he was killed, it shows up on WikiLeaks, what did you discover in terms of the contacts with WikiLeaks?
Right. Well, that's an excellent question. And let me clear that up right now, exactly what it was that I found. Now, I have never seen the emails myself directly. I haven't even seen the computer that Seth Rich used. Here's the problem with all of this. I don't even know where the computer is. I checked with the police department. They said they don't know where the computer is, and the FBI. They say they don't have the computer. If this is just a murder investigation, first of all, why would the FBI be involved? The only reason the FBI would be involved, just so that the viewers understand, is if this has some degree of national exposure, meaning because maybe it is related to the DNC.
Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material, and often very significant risks. There's a 27-year-old works for the DNC who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Well, others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich. I think it is a concerning situation. There's not a conclusion yet. We wouldn't be willing to state a conclusion, but we are concerned about it. And more importantly, a variety of WikiLeaks sources are concerned when that kind of thing happens.
I got problems. Listen, man, I'm not a fucking reputable person.
That's what I try to tell
my
people.
Political ideologies. I mean, I'm just not. I'm not that well read when it comes to politics. I have my opinions on things, but when it comes to things that are rock solid and clear, like that Seth Rich was murdered and people want to ignore it, I'm like, what the fuck do you think happened? There has to be some sort of a disconnect here. When a person is giving information to WikiLeaks that exposes corruption inside the very organization that's responsible for the fucking Democratic Party, and he gets murdered, and you're like, oh, the conspiracy theories. No, he got murdered. There's no conspiracy. It was a botched robbery. Says who? Says who? Where's his? How come his wallet was there? How come his watch was there? How come they didn't take his phone? What the fuck are you talking about that I'm a conspiracy theorist when I just tell you the facts? So and this WikiLeaks thing with Julian Assange is the craziest shit ever, when he said there's consequences to sharing information with us. And everybody's like, nah.
General Flynn and his son, Michael Flynn Jr., called for people to look into the emails, whilst Anons gathered on sites like Reddit, Vote and 4chan and began researching. Then the web sleuths on 4chan found something strange buried within the email dumps. Nonsensical references to pizza. This was the birth of open source research, a process of public group investigating and sharing research, using data that is freely available to anyone to build a case and qualify information. What they found was very disturbing indeed, but Pizzagate is a story for another day. So bearing in mind all of the information we have looked at about the Anons on 4chan, is it so far-fetched to consider how military intelligence could have viewed the message boards as a way to communicate directly with the people who are paying attention, and form an online civilian-military alliance to combat the deep state propaganda media in the information war to save humanity? It seems like a pretty genius idea to me, and quite the story. This clip of General Flynn recognizing the efforts of the digital soldiers demonstrates that the military were aware of the online counterculture, which the Q Team Patriots eventually weaponized and developed a plan to mobilize the open source investigation methodology demonstrated on the chans.
And we have an army, okay, as a soldier and as a general, as a retired general, we have an army of digital soldiers. What we are now, what we call, I call them, because this was an insurgency, folks. This was run like an insurgency. This was irregular warfare at its finest in politics, and that story will continue to be told here. But we have what we call citizen journalists, okay? Because the journalists that we have in our media did a disservice to themselves, actually more than they did to this country. They did a disservice to themselves because they displayed an arrogance that is unprecedented. And so the American people decided to take over the idea of information. They took over the idea of information, and they did it through social media.
Last time I wrecked it, last time I whipped around, last time I did the whippets, last time I did the first quarter brown, hit the reverend, last time I hit your crib, last time it went no tickets. I done went back in myself, felt like hell, fuck I risked it, pace yourself, how you living, know you thrilling, office in it, how I got my stripes and pendants backing out in the street, boy this wild, let it be, rages out, gotta eat, not a vibe, but away with the sound, by the way, kinda down by the days to myself, know they look it with the moves, I'm juking off the juice, no I'm juking, I be smooth and I lose it, yeah, nah. The opera, hit the red and blue outside, I think our options up. I'm across the ground, the map, I had to line it up. I be swagging on the waves, it's like a line of us. Moving verse on my turf, I'm out of line. I put in work, I draw the line and cross it first. I need the time, I need the search, it's just like wine and make it work. Skirt, skirt, in a verse, skirt, skirt, run a land, Boeing jet, make it land. It's slow motion when I dance. In your eyes, I see your trance, I run away and then you prance. If I show the hideaway, will you hide out and let it blame? Ain't no time of fixing scams, I know.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for more must-see videos.